Oftentimes on YouTube, you'll find people wanting to give you the best of something, whether it's the best class setup, the best gun, the best equipment. Generally, people strive to show you the best of anything, myself included, and it makes sense. When it comes to guns, you want people to know what to do and what not to do, what gun is great, and what gun just flat out avoid. In Modern Warfare, there aren't too many of the latter. Most guns serve a purpose and a niche, but then there of course are guns that just really outshine others in their respective classes completely. For today's video, we're not going to be looking at the best. Instead, we're going to delve into the opposite side of the spectrum. Me being the shotgun guy that I am, naturally I have some opinions on what the worst is in the shotgun category. While this video is going to be what is mostly subjective, I'm also going to delve into some facts and stats about the guns in question so that it's not just about feel. Now, while feel is important to using a gun well, it isn't everything, so we're going to take a look at both. Now, you might disagree with me, and that's alright, and as always, let me know in the comments if you disagree. Also, this isn't to say that these guns are useless. They both most definitely have their place, and you can do very well with both. It's just that there are other options in the class that just work better in most cases, but this is my take on the worst shotgun in Modern Warfare. Now, there are 5 shotguns to take a look at, but of these 5, I think I've narrowed my search down to 2 that myself and a large part of the community are sure to agree with. The Model 680 and 725 are one-shot monsters, and the R90 is a double-tap machine with awesome range and power output. So that leaves us with the last 2, the Origin 12 and the VLK Rogue. Both of these shotguns have their own sort of niche to sit in. The Origin 12 is a spammy shotgun. You unload pellets and your focus is on getting shots out as fast as you can and slamming that trigger just to unload hell on your enemy. The VLK Rogue, though, is more catered to mobility. Now the focus is getting as close to the enemy as possible, as quick as possible, and getting in 1 or 2 shots to kill him. If you watch my guide on the Rogue, you'll see that it is in fact the quickest of the shotguns in the game, mobility-wise. What we're going to be taking a look at are the stats. We'll take a look at the one-shot ranges for each, the two-shot ranges, the sprint out times, ADS times, and rate of fire. All of these combined can help shed some light on each of these guns and help us determine which one really is the worst of the bunch. The Origin 12 is not really a gun well known for one-shotting enemies. It's not its purpose. The one-shot range for the base Origin was roughly 4 meters, which may as well be barrel stuffing in this game. The max one-shot range we could get with the Marauder and the Impaler barrel was about 4.8 meters, which is not even a 1 meter increase with those attachments, sadly. The Rogue, on the other hand, has a base one-shot of 4.3 meters, already better off than the Rogue, but not by much. When we stack the Tsar barrel and the Marauder suppressor on it, though, we get a boost up to 6.1 meters, which is a nice increase compared to the Origin 12, and it's really no competition. The Rogue has the better one-shot hands down. What about the 2-shot kill range? Well, assuming you hit all of your pellets, the Origin 12's max 2-shot distance was about 12 meters with no attachments, and 15 meters with the attachments I mentioned above. The Rogue was better, as you'd probably expected, with a 2-tap of 15 meters with no attachments and 18 meters with all of its ranged attachments. It's actually further than I initially thought it would be, and so when it comes to range and one-shot kills, the VLK Rogue is a superior shotgun, as most of you probably anticipated. If it wasn't, what would the point of the Rogue even be? Also, I wanted to point out the maximum range possible, meaning the furthest range you could at least land a single pellet on someone, mostly for you hardcore players out there. Now for the Origin, the furthest it could reach was about 26 meters, and for the Rogue it was about 37 meters. 37 meters is actually really impressive for this gun, but I'd only recommend reaching out that far in hardcore mode where you have such a low amount of health. So the Rogue wins here. What about aim down sights time and sprint out times? The Origin and the Rogue have a base sprint out time of 17 frames or 283 milliseconds, and that goes for both of them. Getting both out for the fastest possible sprint out time, the Origin 12 was able to reach 10 frames or 167 milliseconds, but the VLK Rogue could go all the way down to 6 frames or 100 milliseconds, which is basically instant. Remember, the Rogue is a mobility-focused shotgun, so speed stats are generally going to be better on the Rogue. The problem with this, though, is that to get the Rogue to that low of a sprint out time, you need to use the 4-round magazine, which is pretty inconvenient in many situations, but it can be done on close-quarter focused maps. If you don't run the 4-round mag, though, like most of you probably will end up doing, it reaches the same sprint out time as the Origin 12 at 10 frames or 167 milliseconds. So even though the Rogue is a bit faster when it comes to sprint out time with all of its attachments, you probably won't be running that 4-round mag, so I consider this section to be almost a tie. Almost. Aim down sights times are no different. The base aim down sights time for the Origin 12 was 20 frames or 333 milliseconds, which is actually pretty slow compared to most guns I find. Kitting it out for the fastest aim down sights time possible, we got it down to 13 frames or 217 milliseconds, which is still kind of meh if you ask me. The Rogue could aim down sights in 17 frames or 283 milliseconds with no attachments at all, and we got that one down to about 10 frames or 167 milliseconds with as many aim down sights reducing attachments as I could, and again, as we expected, the Rogue wins here. So far, the Rogue has a better one-shot range, a better two-shot range, a faster sprint out time overall if you want to be crazy and use the 4-round mag, and a faster aim down sights time overall. Even though it seems like this video is a showcase of why the Rogue is better, it's not going to stay that way, especially now since we're looking at the rate of fire. The rate of fire for the Origin 12 is roughly 233 rounds per minute. The VLK Rogue was only at about 126. This is by far the biggest difference between the two and what gives the Origin 12 a great boost in lethality. Now with a rate of fire that's roughly 50% faster, the Origin 12 can do some nasty work in its working ranges. The VLK Rogue has good damage stats, but the rate of fire for it is hard to get down right, and it's easy to oversample it, and you almost always need 2 shots to kill with it. The Origin, though, sits at a much more comfortable rate of fire, and unless you're absolutely blazing on that trigger, you probably won't be oversampling it, and it's easy to master. Now that we've covered pretty much most of the important stats, let's delve more into the subjective side of things. One of the biggest factors that makes a shotgun useful is consistency. In order to be a good, reliable boomstick, it needs to be consistent. The VLK Rogue is just not consistent for me. More often than not, when I use the Rogue, I'm getting mostly 2 to 3 shot kills, unless I'm barrel stuffing. The hipfire does not really work that well, despite the spread being pretty forgiving and similar to the Origin 12, so I usually have to aim down sights to get my kills. With that slower rate of fire, this usually leads me to my death. With the Origin 12, even though it's technically weaker in range, it at least performs consistently enough to where I understand what to expect in most engagements. Again, with the Rogue, I go into gunfights uncertain if I'll get the kill, where with the Origin, I know more of what to expect despite its weaker level of firepower. The VLK Rogue is a mobility shotgun. We know that. It's designed to be more balanced in firepower, but lets you close the gap with enemies and be more prepared to kill them in that closer range. Just take a look at the movement speed. The base Rogue and Origin have identical movement speeds, but the Rogue kitted out has a noticeably faster speed as well, as you can see here. Does that help? In some situations, yes, but for me, mostly no. It just doesn't get the job done like you think it would, especially against really good players. Since these are shotguns we're talking about, it's safe to say there are certain ranges we should be constricted to. We should be choosing to move in close quarters, staying around corners, and limiting movement in wide open areas of maps as much as possible. That's just how it goes if you want to do well with a shotgun against good players. If you stick to this range, this sweet spot of 10 or so meters for most of the shotguns in the game, the Origin 12 will almost always come out on top of the Rogue for me. I would much rather be using the Origin 12 and spamming my shots downstream like crazy, especially with my newfound love, the 25 round drum magazine for the Origin. In my guide for the Origin, I did recommend to not even really bother with it as it was just a bit overkill, but now I love it. And I think it's not only pretty viable for many multi-kills, but it's just kind of hilarious to use. I don't ever feel the pressure in the back of my mind that I don't have enough ammo for my next engagement, so I have to reload, and then that reload ends up getting me killed because I got caught with my pants down. Oh no, the 25 round mag doesn't give you that uncertainty at all. So we've seen why the Rogue is a decent shotgun in theory. We know it's fast, we know it's got the potential, but in most cases it fails to perform in instances where it should be outperforming. It just falls short too often for me to want to use it competitively as a shotgun. But the Origin 12 is the king of spam, and the gun you want to use for its forgiving nature and its absolute insane ability to throw some lead downstream. Because of this, I present to you the worst shotgun in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the VLK Rogue. Well, there you have it, folks. My pick for the worst shotgun in Modern Warfare. Now again, I want to reiterate that this is largely subjective. I'm sure someone out there likes the Rogue better, and this isn't a video trying to say the Rogue is terrible and never to be used. It can work, it is kind of cool, and it is unique, so give it a shot. It's just, comparatively speaking, it's not as good as the others to me. Hopefully you guys stuck around till the end of the video, and if you did, thanks for checking out the video and giving me a little moment of your time. If you like content like this, be sure to let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe subscribe if you enjoy gun guides and content like this, where it's kind of stats and also some subjective stuff thrown in. You guys are awesome. With all that being said and out of the way, I want to wish you all a happy rest of your day/night, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.